In this video I'll be taking a look at the Day of the Geek soldering badge kit by Proto-Pic. Inside the kit you'll find the printed circuit board in the shape of a skull, along with a small bag containing a battery holder, a pin and clip, and 6 LEDs. You'll need to supply your own CR2032 battery. Being a simple board, it shouldn't really matter which order you decide to solder the components. I'm going to start with the battery holder. Insert this on the back of the badge, making sure that the gap for the battery to slot into is at the bottom. With that in place, you can flip the board over so that you can apply solder. Here I've used a few out of the LEDs just to prop the board up. There's undoubtedly better ways to do this, but I'll also apply a bit of pressure on the board when I'm actually soldering. If you have one of the designs that has gold patterns on the front as opposed to the white that's seen here, you'll need to take extra care when soldering, as the gold pattern is exposed copper, and therefore if you get solder on it, it's going to stick. With the battery holder in place, the next thing I'm going to look at is the LEDs. There are 6 LEDs included, but you'll only be soldering 2 of them onto the board. Therefore, you get to choose the colour combination you'd like to use. You have a choice of either red, white or blue LEDs, though potentially you could supply your own if you wanted to use a different colour. The leads of the LEDs need to be fed through the front of the board, making sure that the polarity of the LED matches the markings on the rear. Once the leads are through, you want to bend the other side of them to hold the LED in place. You can solder this in place now if you wish, but I'm going to do it after I've also fitted the other one. And now they're both fitted, I'm going to solder them in place. You can then snip the excess leads from the LEDs. Now we move on to by far the hardest part of this build, which is soldering the pin in place. I just wanted to mention here that there are other ways that you could display this without using the pin at all. For example, double-sided tape, maybe a magnet, or even potentially a 3D printed stand. So consider whether you actually want to use it as a pin badge before committing to soldering the pin in place. You'll need a good hot soldering iron, because the copper pad that holds the pin in place covers the entire area of the board, and we'll need to get as much heat into that as we possibly can. The included instructions suggest covering half of this pad with solder, but I ended up adding a bit more than recommended here, though that's not really an issue. You want to add solder to this first to aid the heat transfer later on. With the solder in place, I used a pair of pliers to pretty much drop the pin into the solder and give it a few seconds to make sure it all got nice and hot and created a decent solder joint. With that done, the board is now complete, and it's time to put the battery in and take a look at the result. You can see the LEDs are nice and bright, and it's sure to make a statement should you choose to wear it. One important thing to point out here is that there is no switch on this badge, so you will need to remove the battery again to turn it off. All in all, this is a good little low-cost kit for someone just getting into soldering, and the final result will look good on display. Just be aware that there is a pin in this kit, so it's not suitable for younger beginners. The kit comes in 4 different styles, so there's sure to be one that looks great for you. There'll be a link in the description to where I got mine from, so you can go and order one if this is something you're interested in. I hope you like this video, thank you very much for watching, and be sure to stick around for the next one.